to Lebanon?
Originally, we came to Lebanon to start a school for children from abuse and neglect background. We partnered with an NGO here that is a residential facility. So the children were either living on the streets, living in dumpsters, under bridges. They had been abandoned by their parents, and they're given basically as wards of the state and in a residential facility while the state tries to figure out what's going on with their parents. Is it acceptable to live with them? Is it not? These kind of things. Consequently, they weren't able to go to school, either because they had no identification or that they had missed so much school already, they couldn't catch up, or these kinds of things. And so we came in and started a school specifically to deal with those issues with kids from traumatic pasts, to deal with the idea that, you're 17, you've never held a pencil before, and it's like, hey, that's cool. There's no shame here. Like, this is what we're here to do.
Yeah.
And we started a school for that. And that's
you and your wife.
Right. So my wife and I came, and then we ended up bringing a whole team together. So we had
from Lebanon?
Lebanon, from the U.S. And by the end of it, we probably had 15, 16 full-time people, and then we had a whole
team. Were they
team.
all volunteers?
No, these were paid. Some of them were, our team was volunteers, but all of the Lebanese staff were paid. All of our teachers were Lebanese, and they were all paid. And then we had a steady stream of interns from all over the world, from Europe, from the U.S. Wonderful. And so, yeah, it was a really cool program. That's what we came, because my background's in education, it's not in art at all.
Yeah.
And then when that project ended.
How long did that last?
About 5 years.
Right. When did you first arrive? 12, 13, 12, 14?
Yeah, but I'll have to go back and do the actual math. But I think it was before, maybe it was 14. No, I say, hold on. I'll actually do math. So 9, and then I think 13 or 14, but sometime around 13, 14.
Okay.
Because I was in Oman teaching university, from 08, 09 till for 5 years.
Right.
So that would have put me here in 13, 14.
Okay. So you've been here 6 to 8 years, 7, 8 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we saw Beirut whenever it was it was happening. It was lively. It was
resurgence.
Yeah, it was just this was amazing, And then we saw, we were here for the You Stink protest. So we were here for we saw the You Stink, and that was my first experience with any of this kind of stuff, going down and seeing a popular uprising but because we were, I worked, all day, every day at the home and in the school. So we were a part of, or all of the government mismanagement and the poor governance was a part of my everyday. So the reason these kids can't write is because of the way the school system works. The reason these kids have never been to school is because of the way the government works. The reason these kids don't have papers to allow them to go to school, blah, 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 is because their mother can't give them identification. It's all of these things were my everyday. That's what I lived every day. And
you wonder what this government's been doing. You say it's the way the government was run, but there was no government running anything.
Yeah, there wasn't anything for a long time, right?
Still to this day.
So that was my experience, right? This is what this is what our whole team did. And then through that whole time, my wife and I ended up adopting one of the boys at the home who didn't have any parents. And so I say adopting, you can't even adopt in Lebanon. It's here's a kid who has no papers, no nothing, he's never met his family. And we're cool, we'll adopt him. And they're like, no, you can't do that. And so we're fighting for that, right? And so that's in my house. This is what I did for my job. And so that's when the revolution started, I felt such a strong connection to the revolution, even though it wasn't mine, because of all day, every day. And inside my house, I was being subjected. Yeah, I was being subjected to all of the poor things, all the poor governance, and all of the effects of that, and the effects of the evil that's going on here. Yeah. And so but with a strong recognition of hey, this isn't I am a foreigner, I am a guest, but how can I support? And so that's how the whole process started, was our school, and then our school project ended because of some funky things, and then we got Lebanese. Yeah. So it's I know, I'm not gonna tell you. I know. I'm no, that was but unfortunately with everybody, the project ended, And so with that project ending, we were then stuck in the country because we had a kid who couldn't leave with us. And so then that became this weird bubble where I can't leave. And then what am I doing while I'm here? And so then I started going down to the streets during the revolution and documenting that in art. That's where I found, or that's where Art of Change, the gallery, found me on the streets, and then started to encourage me going forward in art and ultimately in public art. And they were a huge part of making the memorial wall happen, was because they just came alongside me and we worked together and we're able to collaborate on that and a lot of other projects.
So let's have a chat about the wall, this amazing memorial that you've created for the victims of August 4. And there's a wall where there's still a few silhouettes. So tell me that experience. Why are there silhouettes? How did that happen?
Well, we got the name bank from the official list. And so we tried to hunt up everybody's image, from Facebook posts to pictures at protests and this kind of stuff. But there were still a lot of images or names that we didn't have images for.
Right.
And so the silhouettes represent the people that we don't have images for. And then when we originally put them up, we had a ton. And then the families and friends of the loved one who had passed away, they came and contacted me and were giving me these images. And so, we've knocked out probably 3/4 of all of the ones that we didn't have images for. And so to me, that's really encouraging, because it represents the idea that the families feel supported by this and they want to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And so the people who haven't contacted us are usually people who, like, they're expat workers, their families don't know about it. There's a beautiful story of a woman who was a housemaid, and her family, she was working here from Ethiopia supporting her daughter. Then the family who were her employers contacted me and were like, this woman needs to be on here, blah, blah, blah. And then by putting her portrait there and shining light on her, someone came and supported her daughter to continue to be able to go to school in Ethiopia. Wow. And so it's these kind of these, the ripple effect, because in one sense you say, why do you do this? What do you hope to achieve? And it's like, I have no idea. I have no idea what would happen. Yeah. And it's like, and you are able to.
It's so cool, don't you?
Yeah, and it's like, and you see all kinds of stuff. So her daughter now can go to school because someone who she will never meet drew a picture for, and it's just this ripple effect, and you're like, I don't know what has happened, but it's like, that's what I think is beautiful about art. Is like, there isn't like a one-to-one relationship, like, oh, I'll do this art and then, it's like, you do this and you put it out there and you just see what happens. Like, maybe something cool, maybe nothing, maybe something terrible, maybe something amazing. It's like, you just go do it. Yeah. You just go do it. So yeah, better than just sitting at home, like bitching on social media. Yeah. My biggest fear was that the families would not, it wouldn't be received in the way that it was intended, and so for us, my partners, with Art of Change, we were preparing ourselves, if this goes poorly, what are we going to do? And I was like, we had prepared ourselves, man, we listen and we go for it, and it's like, man, you approach it humbly and maybe, if we messed it up, it's like, we listen, and then we take the critique. Thankfully it was received really positively, and it's just like, you just do, and then it's like, and you just see what happens. You see what happens,
Actually,
and it's like,
it's the same experience I had making the film, because when I came here to launch it, my heart was in my hands.
I bet.
Praying that the Lebanese would receive it with the intention it
exactly.
was made.
Exactly.
Because externally, it's gone to 33 festivals or whatever. Globally, it was critically acclaimed and they understood. But coming back here,
you're like,
saying,
yeah, it's terrifying.
And it was.
I mean, what the day?
I was so humbled. I was so humbled traveling around the country, and
that's good.
The way people reacted was wonderful.
It was. I mean, I remember so distinctly whenever it. So this took 4 months of drawing and preparation, and then we had a whole week before, with Art of Change, and we're in their office and we're trying to get all the logistics, and we have it all set up, and I just was like, at some point looked at Jason and I'm like, dude, this like, are you ready to get like, are we ready to go to jail? Like wow. This is, we don't have permission for this.
Yeah.
Like if this, like we're gonna, we are quite literally making a pretty large statement here. Are we ready to go to jail? And I had that conversation with my wife of just like, hey, we're foreigners. They could kick me out of the country. I mean, going to jail is like whatever. It's like they're just kicking me out of the country. And it's like, is this worth for our family? It's like that's a pretty big risk, because like we've got a kid who can't leave the country. If I get kicked out, it's like this is a big deal, And so those are some serious conversations with her to be able to say, is this important enough that we're taking that risk, that this could go poorly in that regard, and so it was just like, yeah, we made that decision together. It was just like, okay,
why was it? What was it that made you feel it was that important?
To me, it's a bringing light to injustice, and it's like so I'm, it's like I come from a Christian background, and so this informs me to say, it's my job to go get the voice of those who have lost their voice or don't have a voice, and you go get involved with that. Like that's your job, and it was just like, this is intense injustice, and you're not
going to stand around.
Yeah, and it's like I'm tall, it's like I'm called to love the orphans, the widows, the refugees, the poor, and it's like, and these are those who have lost voices. These are those who don't have power in society, it's like, and so you go get involved in that. And so for me, it was my faith informed that, and it was like also to say like, hey, if it calls you getting kicked out of the country or you go to jail or whatever, it's like, we made that decision together. It's like, yeah, it was worth it, because it's like, these people died, right? It's like, what happens to me? It's like, I go eat like bad cheese for a while. I mean, like what? Like I'm fine, or it's like, we deal with it's like, I come from a position of privilege where I'm not gonna die. It's like these people died, and I'm like, it's still not even a comparison. It's not a comparison, and so we decided, it's like, yeah, this is worth it.
I want you to explain to me, what was the thought process when you were designing and creating these portraits? You talked about equality and making it fair.
One of the things that I really wanted to, it was really essential to me, was that all of the portraits are the same. So they're all the same size. They all are uniform in their placement and how, on the wall. And then it was really, really important for me to randomize, for me and the volunteers who put it up, so that no one knew which one was coming up next. And this was to protect any of us from being tempted to put to put someone who was well known in a position in a primary location. There's some positions that are great and some of them that are not so great, and I didn't want anybody to have the opportunity to change those positions because they wanted this person in prominence. And I also wanted everyone to be on the same spot, because in death, that's what we take, right? Like, it doesn't matter if you're a Sursock or you're a foreign worker from Eritrea. It's like, he is dead, and so is she. And your position in life was very, very different. Your position in death is the same. And for me, this was a really important message to have.
Equalizer, isn't it?
Right? It's like, you don't get to take anything with you, and it's like, and so we're all on the same spot. We're all, it's like their last names aren't there, so that no one is tempted to go, oh, this family, and to ask these questions. It's all in black and white, so you can't necessarily tell race from just skin color. Yeah. All of these things were really intentional, so that it could display like a really strong equality, which Lebanon isn't like, super well known for. No. and so you have these really prominent people who are right next to dock workers who make nothing, and it's like, and that's what happened in death. That's what happened with the blast, and for me, coming from my position, it's like, this is the thing that actually is very real. It's like, this is like, I think this guy is as valuable and as important. He is a soul just like her.
Yeah.
who is, and it's like, and I want that to be displayed in the same way.
Yeah.
But the way that I wanted them positioned is like I wanted the eye line to be, as you walk by, these eyes that are bigger than life to be staring back at you. And I had all of the images. I altered all of the images so that their eyes were looking directly at you. And this is intentional because like I wanted them asking you these questions.
So when you
walk past, they follow you. They're all looking at you because I want that to make you uncomfortable. It's like it made me hella uncomfortable. For 4 months I drew this and I was like, I'd cry every time because I'm just like, this is real. Like these are people. Like, and I'm thinking about them. I'm praying for their family. I'm like, what happened? What did they do the day before? What did they want to be? Who were their kids? It's like they had grandkids. They were somebody's grandkid. It's like there's a whole ecosystem surrounding each one of these people. And it's like, and I wanted them to be so big that you can't see, when you're standing in front of them, you can't see anything else other than that one. But then when you turn to the side, you just see just a sea of them. And you're able to say, man, it's just insane. Like that's crazy. That's one person. They're so valuable. Like they really existed. That's a soul. And there's another one and another. And for 350 meters, it's like, and it's just, I want it to be exhausting. I want it to be like, I want you just to be like, damn, the magnitude of this situation and the magnitude of the injustice, and of just like this, and there's still nothing that's happened, and it's like, and I want them looking at you, I want them looking at me saying, what are you doing? Is this finished? And it's like, it's not finished. Are they just going to, sit up there and deteriorate in front of your eyes? What are you going to do? And I want that to continually be offensive to us.
Yeah.
And
one of the things you said was, this is now offered, and it was a community in the end that came together to help you. You created the artwork, but they put it up with you. You had an army of 40 people or so. Let's just go back to putting it up.
Yeah.
I think that was a bit of a kamikaze situation, guerrilla.
It was very guerrilla. Event. Yeah, it was very guerrilla. Yeah, because, I approached Art of Change in January with the idea, and they were like, yeah, let's do it. And so it was very much a collaboration between
2021?
2021, yeah. And so it was very much a collaboration with Art of Change and me. And so they kept me going and kept goading me on when I wanted to quit, and we put it together. And so then we had it all set up, and we had, I pulled a call out on social media, said, hey, is anybody interested in doing an intervention? And then they say yes. And I'm like, okay, I made them email this person. And then after that person, we give them a little bit of information and say, okay, email this other, and we made them jump through all these hoops because I didn't want just the yahoos to come.
Right.
I wanted people who really were interested. And we didn't even tell them what we were doing. I said, there's an intervention. We don't have permission, so there's some risk. It's about the port victims. And I didn't even tell them, they didn't know where it was. And so I said, okay, finally meet here at this date underneath the egg. And so we met underneath the egg, and everyone's just kind of milling around like, we don't know what we're doing. We don't know what's going to happen. And so we showed up and like got everybody in teams. I showed them how to do it. And then they still didn't know where we were going. And we walked directly to the wall and just started going. It's like, go.
So those boards that are up there, were they there?
Yeah.
And you just plastered on them. You knew. Because those boards were protecting that unfinished building.
Yeah, and so the boards were there. And so we came and just like, ready, go. And so we just started going.
And they had to be the same height.
Yeah, and so we had whole teams working on stuff. So we had a, like, we call them the slop team. So they had this glue. And so all they did was just slop, we had the slop team, then we had the placing team. And so we had people like making sure they're in the right spot. Okay, go. And then we had people writing the names underneath it so that we could go back and track who was who. So it was a whole ordeal.
Procedure.
Yeah, it was a whole, and we just moved all on.
Military procedure.
We moved in one unit, and we had some of the most important people were a group of older, more respectable women of Hamra, and their job was to wait for the army, because when the army showed up, they were to intervene there. And so I was like, you guys can't put anything, you can't touch anything. I want you guys ready for when the cops show up or when the army shows up, to try to get it, you try to wasta ourselves into continuing.
The wasta.
Yeah, and so what we did, that was another reason of like how we did it, is that we wanted it to go up enough for whoever tried to stop us to get a vision for what was happening.
Right.
you know. And so even one of the
ones that went up, they would understand.
Yeah, they could go, oh, okay, I see what you're doing, you know. And when the army showed up, the ladies did their job and they talked us out of it. When the cops came, they talked us out of it. And then even one of the security guards who worked at the place, he was like, what are you doing? And then he realized what was happening, and his cousin had died. And I had drawn a picture of his cousin.
Oh, wow.
You know, and in the end, he ended up being like a docent for the whole, I mean, like anybody who came to see it, he would give them tours, this whole deal. Like he was really invested in the whole thing.
Wow.
And so there's all these stories, you know, and because the families had no idea. And then suddenly once this thing started happening, the families would just start coming down like one at a time. And that's what I hadn't really expected, is that the families would come, and they would come with like this sense of like kind of a frenetic energy of saying, and they would come up and just go, and they would say to their families, like, where is he? Like, what, like, where's Elias? Where's Elias? You know, and like they had lost him. And I was like, because I'd spent all this time with them, I was able to like, oh, I know right where he is, come with me. You know, and it's like, and I would walk them to their loved one, and then they would have this whole, and I was like, I mean, I was a mess. You know, like my buddy Jason with Art of Change, like he was a mess. I mean, it's like, I had not expected this part where they would come, like they're touching the pictures, they're crying with us, and just being able to then say, hey, tell me about your loved one, like tell me about her, you know, tell me about your teta, tell me, you know, it's like, tell me about your mother, you know. And they would just start telling me stories, and just like, and they would, because obviously we were interested parties, we just heard all of the stories of how they died. Like they just want to, you know, just to listen, and so it was just like, it was weeks, because we got it all up in one day, and then it was final stuff, and then, you know, people would send us pictures, and then I would go put another one on there. So I was down there a lot, and so people would see me, and they would come up, and then some of the family members wanted to meet with us, and it was just nonstop of, you know, hundreds of these family members coming and telling you their personal story of how I carried this person. And a lot of times, because of the biggest issues were down in Marmachal, these guys all know each other, right? You know, it's like, this was my, you know, they would be walking, and they'd be like, this is my neighbor, I bought fruit from her, you know. They knew everybody, you know, and they would walk down and tell me all these things, and I'm just like, I had no idea this is how this was going to go down, you know. And it was extremely, like, it was emotional, you know, to try to.
Got a beautiful, they're all beautiful, but you mentioned Elias, the young teenage boy.
Yeah, you know,
I mean, I remember him. Not every story, not every name. I think there's over 300 victims now.
Yeah.
I mean, in my film, when we finished it, it was 229 victims that had died, but I think more have died, and there might be more. I don't know, how many have you painted? How many paintings have you?
I think I drew like 220 or something like that, and then the ones who had passed away since then, I'm waiting for, like, kind of the thing I was telling you about, like I stopped tending it on August 4th, right. Like on the year anniversary, I stopped tending it as a secondary statement, because I knew that these were going to degrade in front of us all. And so I was like, I wanted that to see what would happen, to say like, okay, Beirut, we did this. Now these things are degrading in front of you. They're falling apart. Are you guys going to just stand for that? You know, it's like, you guys should be pissed at me, or pissed at the situation of like, these are the loved ones. This is your community. These are your people, and they're degrading in front of you. Will you stand for that? And people would call me and say, oh, like, what are you going to do? And I was like, I will give you the glue. I will show you how to do it. I will give you all of the files. I will even give you funding. And they would just disappear. You got to take over that. Yeah, it's like, it's the whole. Up to you now. Exactly. You know, it's like this is, you know, this should be yours. Yeah. Right. It's like, I did this. I don't know why. I just did it. Yeah. But it should be yours. Yeah. You know, and so. You got to keep fighting. It's your fight. Right. It's like, or maybe your statement is, as a Beirut collective, we're fine with these people degrading in front of us. And it's like, I want you guys to sit with that, because if that's what you want to do, that's what you get. You know, it's like, that's on you. Yeah. You know, it's like, this was pointing a finger in one direction. Now it's pointing a finger at the community, saying, are you cool with just doing that? Yeah. Are you cool with it letting it degrade?
Yeah.
Because every time they would come and contact me, it ended up being, I would say, I'll give you all the stuff and you can go replace it. And they wouldn't do it, except for one woman did, and so Karen called me and she was just like, I told her the story and was like, you guys should be mad. And she's like, she was mad. And I was like, great. And I was like,
is she a local of Beirut?
Yeah. And she was like, she was furious. And I was like, okay, well, she's like, I will fix it. And I was like, okay, we'll see. So call me in like 2 weeks. Call me that, I kept putting her off to see if she would keep pursuing me. And she kept doing it. And so finally I met with her and was like, all right, here's how to do it. And so she did it. She did the thing that we were hoping would happen, was like, it became Lebanese. Like she was going to be the one who fixes it. She got a whole group together. She got money for it. She got the families involved. She was doing it better than I was. Well, that's the idea. She had the families. It's Lebanese. It's like, I'm not. Like, I can't do it right. And it's like, but she could do it right. And it's like, what is it that needs to happen? And for her, I gave it completely to her and said, it's now your decision.
And she took over.
And she took over.
I want to go back to when you were talking about equality and keeping it fair for all the victims. And but you said you manipulated with a couple of them. Tell me the story of Ali and Malak. Yeah,
so Ali and Malak, they were killed while on a date out at a restaurant. And so because of the randomization, they were in different places. And I was like, that can't be.
How did you find out that they were?
Somehow I knew about it. I forget exactly how I knew, but I was like, I will, like that won't stand. You guys must be next to each other. And so I reprinted hers and was able to like move them so that they could be, exactly. And I did the same with a group of brothers and cousins, it's like, so that they could be together as well. Yeah. And so that, it was those little tweaks, the misspellings of names, and that took me a couple of weeks to finish all of the, But it was such a beautiful time because as I'm going down there, like, the name that I had on the list is not that's not the name they go by. It's, it's Jojo, right? I was like, this isn't, Joel or whatever it is that their family said, right. No, you're doing it wrong. It's got to be like this. And I'm like, absolutely, let's do it. And so I would go down there, but I'd be down there by myself and, and then people would come by and talk and family members would come up and it was just really, it was easily the most meaningful thing, most impactful thing I've ever done. I had no idea what would happen. And it was life-changing. Wonderful. And in the end, I've actually continued this same project, not the same project exactly, but the same idea in the United States with the school shootings. And so there was a huge school shooting in Texas, and I was, that killed 21 kids. And so I did the same thing. I started drawing them and pasting them up. And
school or around the area?
In the city centers, of posting these pictures up, and the same kind of idea. I invited people to come and like writing their messages, like here's this image, what do you have to say, and they're just like, how many more, and blah blah blah, and
Is it still up?
Mm-hmm. And so, but I started posting, those up, which in the States is a little bit different. Like you're gonna get caught, it's like it's a little hotter to do that in the States, but we were able to. Same thing. We assembled a team that was like, are you guys like, is this worth getting in trouble for? And it was like, yeah, it's worth it. And it's like, like I'm cussing mad. This is wrong. Yeah. Let's go do this. Yeah. And so we started putting them up, and and also putting them in. I started making smaller ones and putting them in the ammo, like where the bullets are, and like in Texas they're like, sports stores, or like in stores where you buy guns and stuff. And so I'd put pictures and be like, and stick them up with the bullets, and then get out of the store pretty quickly because the dudes you're pissing off have guns. So it's kind of a thing.
Take a photo of it before you run out?
Yeah. I take a picture of it and I'm out, and so I'm just like, okay. And wow. But so that it's like that kind of thing of using art, just using art to say, like, I want to ask these questions, like, what is this worth? Like, I mean, these are kids, man. Like, what are these words? You know, here, like, what, you know, there's this injustice. Like, this is wrong. Like, you know, in the U.S., this is a thing. We need to talk about this because, like, I want this to be in your face.
Yeah.
Here, it's like, I want this to be in your face. Like, what's going on? Where are we at in this? Like, why is this unresolved? This hadn't even begun to begin resolved.
No.
You know, it's like, that seems kind of shady, right?
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, how do we, you know, for this thing, I said, I'd like it to be where it stands to be able to help the families and help the people who are trying to push for that, to say, yeah, we still see you. We still see you fighting, you know, and it's like, and I hope that Beirut is still behind them, you know, and it's like that.
Well, Lebanon should be behind them.
Yeah, that Lebanon is still behind them, saying, hey, it's really wrong what happened. We need to find out what happened. What are we doing?
We can't sweep this under the carpet.
Yeah, like,
what else are we going to sweep under the carpet?
Yeah, like, you know, this was a big deal,
Disaster.
right? Like, right. You know, and so it's like, and so I think that's what this art piece is. It's like, I want it to still stand there until it's fixed, right? Until it's being able to done right, you know, and to be able to help the people who are fighting to say, yeah, like, you guys aren't alone, you know.
Yeah.
And hopefully.
Yeah. One of the things you said earlier was that you wanted to say to the Lebanese that, you know, you've got their back, but they need to lead, right?
Yeah, of course. This isn't, you know, and I think
it's not your fight.
Exactly. Yeah. For me, and I had the same position in the revolution, where it's like, this isn't my revolution, right? Like, I'm a foreigner, and I'm a guest here, and so I would love to support in any way I can. And so in the revolution, I was drawing and giving them away, and trying to document it for whatever purpose.
Yeah.
And here, same way. It's like, I don't know what the answer is. I don't know where you're supposed to go. And people ask me that periodically, and I'm like, no. Like, I don't have that answer.
Yeah.
That's not even mine to answer.
Yeah.
It's that, you know, wherever you guys are going, then I want to support you, you know, because that's ultimately your question to answer. And it's not my place to critique or even have really much of an opinion on that, other than to say, it's like, hey, I love it here. I love the Lebanese. I love Lebanon. I love Beirut, you know, and it's like, and I want to be here to support with whatever I can. But they're, of course, leading that charge, and, you know, and. So
tell me about the work that you just came back from Iraq.
In Iraq?
Yeah, doing in Iraq.
So what I, you know, it's a continuation of me finding out the impact of involving the community in a community art project. And so then on the streets, I started working with, you know, with kids who are living and working on the street, and showing them how to do art, and then them doing the art, and just seeing like how that empowerment was. And so now I'm trying to go to other projects and using the community to develop and make their own community murals. And so I went to Iraq and was working in a refugee camp, and there was a big 100-meter long cement embankment, and we had like the whole camp come, and I design it, and they can come and fill it in and color it. And so it was like this huge party, you know, we're all eating watermelon or dancing and all this kind of stuff. And then at the end of it, suddenly you look back, and this 100-meter wall is just filling your entire field of view with color and symbols that are important to them. You know, it's like, so I would sit and listen to them. What is their message? What are the things that they want to say? And then I can amplify it, put it on a wall, and then you guys do it. So it's your message. You finished it. It's from your hands, and it's yours. All I did was just kind of.
Empowers them too.
That's the idea.
Because it's there for them forever.
Yeah, and it's theirs, and they are the ones who told me, and like, because the Iraq wall was I did a portrait of one of the boys from the community, and he had autism and couldn't speak, you know, and so it's like, so we've got this big picture that's like, you know, it's like a 5-meter like portrait of this kid who can't speak. And so that was my aspect of challenging the community to say, who gets to be seen, right? You know, who is the beautiful ones among us? And it's like, it's not actually always the shiniest or the prettiest that get to be seen. This kid is valuable, and who he's made. And so to honor him and his family and this kind of stuff. But then all of the rest of it was from them, of saying like, you know, the carpets, like the Kurdish carpets, like I used the Kurdish carpets, and these guys are farmers, and so the camp is built to empower them with like resources to be able to grow their own food and to be able to sell it, and so that's how they're gaining their their livelihood, their independence. And so it's like there's a whole image of like agriculture and a hands full of bounty that are full of fruit and that they've grown from their hands, like it's a respectable work. The fruit of your labor, and then also like respecting your the culture with the Kurdish carpets, and then ultimately like the wish of a little boy named Khushyar, it's like, and so Khushyar's wish, and he's blowing on a dandelion that ultimately creates all of that, and it's like, but that's like we created that whole thing together, and so we created this image together. It wasn't like I came in and said I've got this great idea. And it's like we did this image together. I put it on the wall. They did it, and it's like, and it's theirs, And so, and that's, I really want to take that and go and do that with any community, like communities that are disadvantaged, and communities that need to take possession of their public spaces to be able to say, hey, this public space is ours. Let's make it. Let's say something with it. Like I don't want to hear about McDonald's, or I don't want to hear about, like the. How to be more beautiful or whatever. It's like, dude, let's make it about our community, because this is ours, damn it.
And you're doing something in Lebanon next week. So.
Yep. So next week I am doing the same kind of like collaborative community project with a home for adults that have mental disabilities. So these are generally have been taken care of by their families, but their families are now too old to take care of them. And so these are, I think, 40, 50-year-old people with disabilities that can't take care of themselves, and so they live in a community, and this group takes care of them. And so in their courtyard, we're doing one of these things where it will be like the families, the volunteers, the staff, and the residents are able to make their own mural. To like, now their places, will be a beautiful place to sit. It'll be full of color, full of life, full of but made for them by them, right? And it's like all I did was just buy the paint. It's like
guide them.
Yeah, I buy the paint, put the lines up, and it's like, and then in about 2 hours, it'll be sweet. It'll be you'll be inundated with beautiful colors and patterns and activeness, and it's like, and that whole space will be very different. This isn't where people who Ya Haram live. This is a place where it's beautiful. This is like, I want to be there, and it's like, this is
not a miserable place.
It's not a miserable place. Like this is like where you want to be. And that, just that kind of stuff is what art can do to these spaces. And that's what I've learned and become addicted to here in Beirut, is just seeing what public space, how it can be changed through art, through interventions, and that, and in the States, it's like, when I went back, it's like, oh, I was just infuriated. I'm just inundated with advertisements in parking lots, and I was pissed. I'm just like, like I'm appalled at what I'm seeing, and I'm like, dude, I want to get involved. And so when I go home, that's the same thing I'm doing.
Do you think your experience here in Lebanon, because of the tragedy of everything that's happened to Lebanon, the Lebanese, probably, and maybe Iraq as well, will make you more courageous to fight for people's rights in America and continue to do what you do?
Oh yeah,
through your art?
absolutely, and more so, because what I've said for forever is, I'm like, man, I want to go home and fight my people.
Right back home,
yeah, it's like I'm stuck here, and here it's like I'm always at a disadvantage, because it's like, this is still not mine. Right, and so there's a lot of limits that I put on myself, because it's like, it's just not my place to these. In the States, it's like, no, these are my people, and I have a lot to say to my people. And it's like, I want to go fight my people, and to be able to say, look, like, we need to think about this stuff. This is a mess, and what a beautiful thing to be able to, like, fight my people where I can fully understand when they're yelling back at me. And so I can understand what's happening, but I don't
respond more powerfully.
I can respond better. It's like, I understand when you're yelling at me. When I try to yell back in Arabic, it's a disaster. And I'm like, because I get scared and my voice quakes. When my voice quakes in Arabic, it's like, halas, this is terrible. When my voice quakes in English, it's like, it's okay. I'm here. It's like, what's the beautiful quote of, like, speak speak boldly even if your voice shakes.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm just like, when my voice shakes in Arabic, then everyone's laughing at you. So it's like, but when my voice shakes in English, like, it's fine, I'm here to do it, you know.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that's what I really am just itching to get home, to be able, because like my people are kind of a mess right now, you know, and it's like, I've got, you know, I want to use the same things I've learned here to be able to kind of engage with, you know, my own problems that actually I do own, you know.
That's beautiful.
So,
It's a really.
well, yeah, be sure and put this on whenever I'm in jail for being. So.
No, I love that. I love that as a way to close off. Actually.
Oh, cool.
It's a really nice way to
sweet.
send you back home.
Send me back home, yeah.
When
Let me go fight my people.
Yeah.
And
For your people. For your people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're one and the same.
Yeah.
You know, because it's, and that's really what it's like the thing, I've started seeing some of this, like, you know, like a little bit of, I guess, like some of the artists that I follow in the States, it's like they're starting, like, I'm like, this is our time, man. Like, get out there. Like, it's like you're needed. Like, you're needed. Like, we need to just go. We need to have some. We need to say the things, you know. And it's like, even the guys who disagree with me, it's like, well, yeah, let's start doing this.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the sitting back and twittering and just sniping, and it's like, it's nasty. You know, it's like, let's get out and talk about it. Let's you know, like, expose to beauty, and then we can start seeing each other for who we are. You know, even our, you know, in the States, it's such an issue of, one of the things here is like, it feels like you can understand who the bad guys are pretty easy, you know, and everybody here is like, we all agree these are the bad guys, and there's not really much, you know, it's not a hard sell. In the States, it's like, it's a very different sell.
Yeah.
You know, it's like half of them are the other bad guys and the other half are the other people's bad guys.
Yeah.
You know, and so really I view my role as trying to, like, get those guys to start seeing each other with empathy in a way, you know, because I think that's what art can really do, is this, you know, it's like, it's bringing empathy to, and real life to this stuff. It's like, these aren't just statistics and numbers and this is a thing that happened and we're trying to judiciate, you know, like, use the judicial system to fix it. No, like, this is this guy.
Yeah.
Here's this empathy should lead us, you know, in the same way, like in the States, like, we're just fighting each other so seriously, but like with art, we can go, man, like, I want us to see each other for who we are. Like, even the guys that you don't like, it's like, man, there's a lot in common with that person. It's like, and if we can start talking about this stuff, it's like, we can see what happens, you know. And I think the artists are the ones who can do that, as opposed to the, you know, you just.
That's your call out.
To me, yeah.
Shout out. Will you do a shout out to artists and creatives? And
yeah, it's to say your thing, you know. It's like, even if you disagree with me, it's fine. Like say it, you know, or like I want the other people to say the thing, you know, and I want us to be able to have these discussions. And
it's okay if we disagree.
I want us to disagree, because I'm probably not all right.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I need someone to, but I have to not be afraid, right? And I need to be able to say the thing, and then have you come and check it. Oh, okay, cool. Maybe you're right on this area, you know, or meet you, you know. And this is like how these dialogues work, you know. And the artists, it's like, this is our time to come say the thing, to bring the empathy about these terrible situations, you know.
There's terrible situations everywhere in the world.
Certainly.
I mean, I know Lebanon is a tragic catastrophe, but there's suffering everywhere. I mean, and there's injustice everywhere, and there are artists everywhere.
Yeah.
And there are people of all talent and skill. I think everyone needs to use their voice, their platform, their skill, their talent to shed a light on injustice in any way they can, and not just let it pass, not just turn a blind eye. I know as Christians we're brought up to turn a blind eye and turn the other cheek and all those. There's no time for that anymore. There's no time.
Yeah.
There's no place for turning the other cheek.
For me, that's what I want. I want the artists to. It's like they have a unique ability, you know. It's like the creatives, or the creatives. It's like go into it, and because someone will hear it different, you know. And it's like whatever level of empathy it's like I think that's what we bring. You know, it's like you're bringing the humanity to it.
Yeah.
You know, to be able to really see this situation in a way that it's like I hope it can be changing. You know, and in a 3-minute song or a picture or a poem or a movie or whatever it is that you're doing that's creative, it's like, man, go do it, and go say your thing.
Truly, after 11 or 12 years of being apart, I came back and I felt home.
And I was enthusiastic. Oh, look, let's do this, let's do that. And she was, no, the children are in Lebanon. Yeah, then we have to go to Lebanon.
I had a nice film. There were a lot of reactions.
Someone said to me, there was a war. I said, well, there was a war in the Netherlands 8 years ago, so.
I heard him, and I heard a lot of men around him, and they said, we need to do that for our country. And I went like, oh my God, I'm sending containers of love this time.
This week, we brought a team of medics to Lebanon.
And that's very sad to see. So when we came here and we gave them hope, and the step is made, I'm not taking that hope away.